My name is Tammie Perreault. As it was said, with the Defense State Liaison Office, I work for military, community, and family policy. For those of you out in the audience that may not be familiar with that 30,000-foot work that we do at DoD, what all that means is my boss is at the Pentagon, and she sent me out to Washington State to help support the states of the West. So let me see, how do I move my slides forward here? Right here. Okay, so I'm going to cover a lot of topics, and my job today is to get us back on track for time, right? So what is military, community, and family policy? We support the SecDef's priority of taking care of people. He put out 3 priorities in his letter to the force in March, and ours is taking care of people. To build resilience and readiness, we will never spare support for our people, and we will protect the safety, health, and welfare of service members and their families, as well as our civilian employees. Our mission at Military, Community, and Family Policy is not just to help our service members, military families, and survivors to survive, but to help them thrive. That's what we're about. What struck me in this room today is that everyone in this room is also here to help our military families thrive. And that meant so much to me, and it's going to mean so much to my boss to know that we came together to look at this as how we can help the military families that are here in Alaska. Because sometimes we get stuck at this 30,000-foot level, and we forget that it's about people who are on the ground in our communities, reaching out and coordinating and helping our military families. And I'm grateful for that, and I'm grateful for each of you here that are here today to do that. Our policy oversight oversees a wide variety of things, and our execution oversees a wide variety of things, and I'm going to talk about some of those programs today. This is a tiny slide, but it shows how much military, community, and family touches, from the Exceptional Family Member Program to providing casualty assistance to over 30,000 surviving family members, our Family Advocacy Program for our military families that need help for their special needs children, our children, youth, and families, spouse education, morale, welfare. Earlier, General Sachs talked about defense commissary agencies and doing a commissary run out to the remote areas. Just a few years ago, commissaries were not available to our veterans, and they are now. That was a policy change that came through our office. So what's this mean? Where do we fit in this environment of supporting military families? It's a big picture of a lot of people who are involved in this, leading with the Honorable Lloyd Austin at the top. But I want to point out up in the right-hand corner, joining forces, and Dr. Jill Biden. Our office works on a daily basis with Dr. Biden and the work she's doing. Dr. Biden has done something that's unique in that she's calling on all of government to support military families, not just the DoD. It's not just veterans for the Department of Veterans Affairs for veterans. It's all of the government to come together to support military families. And when I come to this conference, I know that not all of the federal government is all in to support military families, but I know that all of you are too. Who are we supporting? About 22,000 active duty service members here in Alaska, just shy of 7,000 National Guard and Reserve members. And what's important for you to note here is those active duty service members are generally married, and they have a child under the age of 5. And they live off base in your community. We are a young force that is married. We are families out in your community. We don't talk about just numbers. We also find out what's going on with our people. Every 2 years, we do a spouse survey. This is open to all of our military spouses. Any military spouses out there in this audience? Maybe 1 or 2 out there. All right, great. This is open to everyone to take the military spouse, the active duty military spouse survey. It's not just this year a sample, it's everybody. So that's what we're wanting, is to really learn and know about our military spouses. I'm going to briefly mention a program called Military OneSource. Anybody out there that's heard of Military OneSource? Okay, great. Okay, Military OneSource, kind of a super EAP program if you're in the corporate sector. There's an app for it, there's a phone number for it, and there's a website for it. The phone number is answered. The contract requires it to be answered within 20 seconds of the call, and with a 99% retention rate on our calls. There's not much that Military OneSource can't help you with. If you need a health and wellness coach and you're a family member to get back in shape post-COVID, if you need a caregiver for your wounded warrior, if you're a new parent and you need help with that, document language translation services, we have the really high utilization for that. If you need help finding elder care for your parents who are not in the same state as you. It's good for our military veterans who are transitioning for 365 days after they've left the service. We did 25,000 tax consultations the last year that we have records for it, and 206,000 assistance with tax submissions. I mean, just incredible numbers that are out there that Military OneSource helps with. Confidential non-medical counseling is something else that we do through Military OneSource. Military OneSource non-medical counseling is one of the top reasons why our military families call Military OneSource. It is confidential. It does not go into a service member's record. Family members can use it, and it provides up to 12 sessions per issue for our family members. When you're dealing with the stress of living remotely, when you're dealing with the stress of having a family member deployed, this helps families before that stress gets to be too much, and we encourage our family members to use this. This is a DoD resource for National Guard, Reserve, all of our services, active duty, and it's completely free and confidential. Then we have military family life counselors. And I know not all of those positions are filled up here in Alaska for military family life counselors, but our military family life counselors are embedded out in the units, they're in the schools, and they're in our child development centers. And they're also counselors that are available to our soldiers and airmen. It's very effective. Nearly 80% of those who receive non-medical counseling experience a reduction in problem severity. So let's talk about the second reason why people call Military OneSource, and that's spouse employment. And spouse employment, we've heard a lot about. Spouse employment is an issue that is a retention issue for the force, because if the spouse stays employed, then our spouses are able to stay with our spouses are able to support that service member better, and vice versa. Certified career coaches are available through Military OneSource and the SECO Career Center. The MySECO website offers information and interactive features. The MyCAA scholarship provides $4,000 to our junior enlisted soldiers and our junior officers to help them get education and training. And then there's the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. What's not on this slide is also licensure reimbursement, which is managed through this program. Licensure reimbursement is if a spouse is moving from one state to another and needs to get a new license, that can be reimbursed through their PCS move and through their service. 2 new initiatives through MySECO. Oh, MySECO is also where all the spouses get LinkedIn Premium, so you can find them on LinkedIn. Finally, the Military Spouse Employment Partnership has over 500 companies, public organizations, and other private organizations that provide employment opportunities for our military spouses, from baristas to executive vice presidents. And there's been over 180,000 military spouses placed through this program. If you are in the private sector and you are interested in hiring military spouses, this is the program for you to be connected with, the Military Spouse Employment Partnership. Just Google it or let me know, and I can get you connected with that. Child and youth programs. Childcare is a huge challenge across the nation, and the DoD is the largest employer-sponsored childcare program in the country, with a 98% national accreditation rate. Over 160,000 children are supported age 0 to 12 daily within the Department of Defense. Massive program. And we know that childcare is especially a challenge here in Alaska. There's kind of a variety of options for childcare. There's our CDCs, so our on-post childcare. There's family care homes, so folks that have opened their home to set up childcare in their home and they've become accredited for that. And then there's the fee assistance program where military families can use fee assistance to use off-post childcare. I have a 5-year-old. She's been in all of these programs, and I can't tell you enough how excellent these programs are, but I also know that just like all of my civilian peers who are in these programs, it is challenging to find childcare in our nation right now, and this is one of our biggest efforts right now is to try to improve this for our military families. We recommend that all of our military families use militarychildcare.com, which allows them to put in place requests for childcare before they arrive at their installation. So now I'm going to talk about the Defense State Liaison Office. And this is the office that I work in. And this is the office that we are most closely tied to those of you that are policymakers, those of you that are legislators, those of you that work on the ground to make those policy changes for our military families. The Defense State Liaison Office has been around since about 2005, and every year we have 10 new issues that we work on with state legislators. And Alaska has done some amazing work over the years. Veteran treatment courts, supporting our military spouses through a variety of improved licensure that the Lieutenant Governor mentioned today. But we still have work to do, and I'm going to talk about some of that work right now. If you aren't downloading the Military OneSource app, which I know a few of you might be doing right now, you can check out State Policy military-onesource.mil. This is a website that shows you where Alaska's at and what we're doing in the state of Alaska on legislation. The Defense State Liaison Office has 10 key issues, and the first one is enhanced military spouse licensure portability. This is a priority issue for Dr. Biden. It was a priority issue for their previous administration, the Trump administration, and it was a priority issue prior to that for the Obama administration. Our goal is for a military spouse to make an application with minimal documentation and receive a license within 30 days of making application for that license in a state. So we want our military spouses to be able to get to work quickly. We also want military spouse licensure, occupational licensure access. What's that? How's that different? That means it shouldn't be confusing and difficult for them to access those resources on how to make their license, how to get their license in the state. A simple website, a simple link, make it known how to do that. Then we have sort of what we call the creme de la creme, licensing compacts. Licensing compacts apply to occupations that have had established a state-to-state agreement in order to have an occupational license move from one state to the next. So for example, the Nurse Licensure Compact, currently 35 states and Guam belong to the Nurse Licensure Compact. The Nurse Licensure Compact, if you're licensed in the state of Texas, you move to the state of Kansas or Virginia, you do not need to do anything to transfer your license. There's no fees, there are no changes, you simply move to that state and you don't have to do anything to transfer your license. The Department of Defense is such a believer in interstate compacts, especially for those occupations where there is a national standard and there's national organizations that are interested in creating them, that in the last NDAA, we created a cooperative agreement with the Council of State Governments National Center for Interstate Compacts to develop more occupational licensure compacts. So coming up, you will see occupational licensure compacts surrounding counseling. You will see them surrounding teaching, cosmetology, and a variety of other professions that are key to our military spouses. So we really see this as the wave of the future, is occupational licensure compacts. Why is all of this so important? Some of my colleagues are going to be talking about this in our panel, but this is important because in not the last NDAA, but the John McCain NDAA, we outlined that the services would be considering these quality of life issues for basing decisions. And so this is a quality of life issue that has risen to the top as one of our quality of life issues. Another quality of life issue that's risen to the top is how schools are doing in supporting our military families. And the Purple Star Schools program is something that the state of Alaska has already adopted, and your Department of Education is in the process of implementing. So kudos to the state of Alaska for leading in the Purple Star Schools program. House Bill 53 on advanced enrollment would allow our military children to get enrolled in schools before they arrive in the state of Alaska. So if they're down in the lower 48, they're making their way here, but they know where they're going to, they'd be able to get enrolled in school beforehand. Open enrollment flexibility is something where we're asking our states to really think about what the capacity is and what the ability is for states to allow military families to have more flexibility when they arrive in the state. In-state tuition continuity is really simple. It means if you have a family member who is staying in the state to continue going to school at a higher education institution, but Colonel Williamson is leaving, his family member still gets in-state tuition continuity because you've been accepted to the school and you're staying here, but they may not have an address because dad left or your spouse left. They may not have an address. Two more serious topics, child abuse identification and reporting. We want to know if there's a child abuse or potential child abuse case off post. This is happening right now through MOUs, but the Office of the Secretary of Defense has asked this to be codified in state law. The reason is not because this is a big gotcha for somebody who may be involved in this, but because we have the family advocacy program that can reach out and wrap our arms around these family members. All right, good. Catherine's giving me a head nod. I really appreciate that. And concurrent jurisdiction, we have another challenge, and that is that our federal court system that oversees the majority of our military installations, that court system doesn't know what to do with children. And so if we have a problem with children where a child needs to go into the court system, we need the state's help on that. We need your assistance on that. It's not common, it doesn't happen that often, but we don't want to be putting a child through the federal court system. And finally, the Ask the Question campaign. This helps our military transitioning and veterans. And what we're asking here is we're looking to states to say to those folks, have you or a family member ever served in the military? Not are you a veteran? Because sometimes I hear no, even though somebody's maybe served 4 or 8 years because they never were downrange. And so the question, what it does is when that question is asked, it oftentimes will lead that person or that family member toward the right path of getting the resources they need, which are often federal level resources, getting them into the VA, getting them into the system that they need at the state level, getting them the resources and the support that they need. Again, Tammie Perreault, I'm your Northwest Regional Defense State Liaison, and I am honored to be back in Alaska. I'm honored to work with each of you, and I'm grateful for your support for military families. Thank you very much.